Okay guys, today's role analysis is with Andrew, a competitor from Cobrinha HQ, so this, it's going to be a good one. Immediately I get hit with a mermaid sweep and I'm like, no way I'm accepting that so early in the game, but I do know those guys from Cobrinha school are excellent off this game of sit-up guard to single leg. I managed to get back on top and I try to use my cross-collar grip to kind of put him on his back. Leandro Lowe often did that to pass quarter guard and deep half. I had a tiny opportunity there to get under his leg and he pummels his leg back in, and you can see he has my lapel fed around my leg. My whole philosophy in jiu-jitsu is that if someone's preventing you from moving backwards, then don't, just go forward. So I always try to play whatever they give me, and I think in the long run that helps me because I expose myself to everyone's different games and positions rather than only playing what I like. I'm trying to do this knee cut through the shin. I'm of course a little wary because he can elevate me, which happens there, but I managed to stay on top because my hand is free. Now here I'm getting tied up. He's got my cross sleeve, which is always problematic, and that's how he comes on top. And sometimes it's just better to accept the sweep so that you can rebuild a guard instead of fighting so long that you have no chance of rebuilding a proper guard position and you're behind in the next battle. Now I use this little shin to shin, and I try to get my heel on his hip to create some space. I try to elevate him, but pretty solid base there, so not much movement. And I'm definitely not going to waste energy trying to force something that's not there. One thing about Andrew's game that I really liked is he was very assertive with his grips and he was constantly improving them. So you can see there he has my collar grip, and I actually use that to set up my John Wayne sweep and come back on top. Starting again in this knee cut position on top, pretty much a tie at this point. Grabs my lapel, pulls it out. And what I do is I stuff that leg and I try to pressure and collapse his half lasso there, hoping that he'll extract it and then I can slip in between the two legs for a knee cut. But he does a nice job tracking me and kind of not taking the bait. I try to use this to stack him, but I got to be careful because he likes to actually pull that arm through and use it to attack that flash armbar. A lot of spider guard players definitely like to use that. He gets a beautiful reset here on his guard, and I go back in for the knee cut, and you can see immediately he's working to feed that lapel of mine. And I have his pant leg, I'm exiting the range, and I try to hit this Toriando here. Almost hit it, ended up going to the other side, working into a leg drag position. And he stuffs his foot in my collar. Now, typically, and even in this scenario, I was like, well, I'll just make him carry my weight, I'll tire his legs out. But he's pretty strategic with his energy expenditure, and I actually realize that I'm burning more energy, so I exit. But now I'm forced to pass the other way because of that lapel feed. He has definitely a lot of unique feeds that I haven't seen before, so I learned a lot actually sparring with him over 2 days. He wraps my lapel around his shin, and what that means is that if I try to travel to my right, I just wouldn't be able to. Now this was probably one of the slickest moves I've seen. He grabs my hip and he has the lasso. Here I think I'm in a good position, and he pushes, and as soon as I push back into him, you can see he still has my pants. He's going to create that reaction to sweep me. I feel that it's suspiciously easy, so you can see I'm apprehensive, but now you can see his knee clears and there's the sweep. So if we break that down, he has two forces driving against me, his knee under my body and his hand on my pants. And when he kicks his lasso through, and he does that when I drive back in, he rotates his hips through and he uses his hand to drive my hips. And there was nothing I could do to stop this. It went over so easily. And you see he punches a deep underhook right away to attack the arm. And he told me that he actually likes his sweeping. He likes to use it to go right into attacking the arm. I'm fairly cautious with overreaching with my arms, especially because I'm so lanky for someone who competes at featherweight. And I'm concerned about the reverse arm lock if I try to extract my arm. But of course, I'm also concerned about the regular armbar. But I definitely would prefer to fight the regular armbar. I try to clear his leg off my head, and then I rotate back to pull my elbow to the ground. Now, you can see I keep my arm closely tucked inside my leg. I try to keep my elbow close to the ground. Some beautiful staple work by him there, ensuring that my right arm is pinned and stapled. So it's a really 2-on-1 battle. Not much I can do here except kind of wait for him. You see I secure my own leg because I didn't want my arm floating. And it's one of the few times I'll try a bridge just to create some space and bring my arm back in. He does a nice job feeding my lapel there. And I kind of use this tiny pocket of space here to pull my legs back in. He does a nice job keeping my head up, which kills the inversion. I suspected choke is coming. Which choke exactly, it's hard to tell. It depends what his preference is, and thankfully he goes for the armbar here. I always prefer to defend an armbar in the back. I feel relatively okay defending those. I peel his arm over my head, and that allows me to bring my back to the ground, which then allows me to come on top into close guard. He starts in close guard with a great lapel feed, but I guess I'd rather be here than bottom mount or bottom side control. Now, this move works pretty well normally, but he actually countered it beautifully. I used that spider to hold someone back and throw both legs over, and I got dearly punished for that. Ended up in a bottom mount, so that kind of sucked, but you got to try it. You can see here, because of the crossface, my right arm kind of becomes isolated, and he's feeding a lapel for a choke. So I kind of just jiggle it like a key, and I end up elbow escaping on my right side. And he inserts his foot for like a tripod pass position. And I feel that he's like pretty loaded up here, and I know his hands are tied up, especially right there when he tucked his elbow inside. So I use it to come on top. Really, I should have tried a pass here, but instead I just broke that grip because that lapel was torturing me for several minutes. Now, I try to keep my body low and in between the legs. It'll tire him out a little bit more. I think I must have bagged him or something, so I just check if he's okay here. And I try to maintain my staple, but also that separation of the legs. So with a guy like that who's got such a good guard, what I have to do is I have to just like kind of make him carry my weight and help to fatigue him. So it's going to be multiple pass attempts and a lot of time under my weight. Starting again with that Toriando type of pass, he's going to throw his leg over, and I just use that to close the space and kind of enter from long range to mid range. His leg is in a collapsed position, and especially after that previous sweep, I'm not going straight to side. I tuck my leg in the middle, kind of like a dope mount position. From this position, I'm really worried about him raising his hips, inverting, and re-guarding. But when he sits up on his elbow, I feel that maybe I can attack the guillotine. He tracks me with his butterfly hook, he gets up, and he closes the space. So I switch to a butterfly hook, and check out how he clears my butterfly hook. He raises, he pendulums down, and he cuts his knee in, which I thought was a pretty cool way to deal with the butterfly. And this marks the end of our 10-minute war, which was so much fun. I learned a lot. So thank you, Andrew, for coming by. Any visitors, you guys are always welcome. This is him cleaning up a tournament the previous week in Orange County. And this is him with his coach, Kennedy Maciel, world champion at black belt and son of the legendary Cobrinha. So once again, thank you. Hope everyone enjoyed.